Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online roll video with me, Sherman. Today, guys, we are taking a look at the stamina kind of Magicka-esque Witchblade damage dealer roll. And this is using both Magicka and stamina, and it's the way I set it up to do with this. Now, I will admit it doesn't do a lot of DPS, but it does enough that can get you through the content. So, let's take a look at the build. Starting with the character screen. As you can see, we are a Dark Elf Necromancer. We have 64 points in the stamina. We do have 22,000 Magicka, 23k health, 30k stamina, and we have a whopping 1,019 mag recovery with a 321 health recovery, 585 stamina recovery, and then our spell damage is coming in at 2304 unbuffed with a 57% spell critical. Weapon damage is 2678 with a 53.7% weapon critical, and we have an 11,000 spell resist with a 10,000 physical. Moving on down, we have the Thief of Mundstone. This is going to give us the highest rate of crit we can get, and we are using Tri-Stat food for this. Longfin pasty and melon sauce is the food that we're using. As you can see, it gives you max health, stamina, and Magicka, all same, all three resources. This allows you to be kind of a hybrid. We are using the Gold Coast Warrior Warrior elixirs. You can use the stamina power pots on the live servers, and this is going to give you stamina, max endurance, or major endurance, sorry, increasing your stamina recovery, and also major brutality and major savagery. Just so you guys can see, you do go up to 688 stamina recovery, and I do need to adjust something, I believe, in here. No, I do not. Okay, just making sure I didn't have to adjust something in here. So it does go up to 688. It's not a lot of recovery, I will admit that, but it's enough that with synergies and everything else, you can sustain. You're going to have an easier time sustaining with Magicka. This is primarily a Magicka type build. As you can see, we go to 3,161 weapon damage with the 2304 spell damage. And, yeah. Let's move on. So, going over the gear sets that we're using for this, we are using the Maw of the Infernal. This is going to add one piece bonus of 1,206 maximum health. And then 2-piece, when you deal damage with a light or heavy attack, you have a 10% chance to summon a fire-breathing Daedrith for 15 seconds. The Daedrith's basic attacks deal 5,491 flame damage. This effect can occur every 15 seconds, and it will stay out for the duration of the 15 seconds and do attacks. The next set we're running is Night Mother's Gaze. This is going to give you on the 2-piece weapon critical, 3-piece weapon damage, 4-piece weapon critical, and then when you deal critical damage, you apply major fracture to the enemy, reducing their physical resistance by 5,280. So any critical damage you deal, even if it's Magicka critical damage, you will apply major fracture. Moving on to the other set we're running, we are running Treasure Hunters. This is mainly here to give us a better potential with our Magicka. As you can see, the 2-piece is max Magicka, 3-piece is spell critical, 4-piece spell crit, 5-piece is add spell damage, and then the final 5-piece, gain major prophecy at all times, increasing your spell critical rating by 2191. Moving on to the weapons, we are using dual wield on the front bar, Nirnhoned, and a infused. One has a flame damage enchant, the other one has an absorbed stamina, and then on the back bar we are using a infused staff with a weapon damage enchant. Going over the gear and how we have it set up, we are running all divines. As you can see on the body pieces, this is going to give us a greater potential of using Mundus Stones, and Mundus Stones is how we're going to get most of our beneficial effects so we can play every role. But we are using 3 Tri-Stats on the body pieces. This is going to give us that ability to hybridize, so we can go tank, healer, damage dealer, whatever role we need to play. And then on the jewelry, or on the smaller pieces, we have on the belt and the shoulders, max Magicka, and on the gloves and the boots, we have stamina. So this is how we're going to get a well-rounded pool of resources. Now going down to the jewelry, we have 2 Tri-Runes, one with the weapon damage, one with the spell damage. This is to maximize our damage potential with that type of stuff, Magicka and stamina. And then we also have mag recovery on the jewelry, on the necklace with an infused. This is going to give us that ability to have that higher recovery rate. Alrighty. So that is the gear setup for this. Now let's go on to the skills. With every class, I'm going to tell you to learn all the passives, because you never know, like, what, depending on what role you're playing, what you're going to need. So always unlock your class passives, unlock the skills you want to use within that class, within the role you want to play. Moving on to the weapons, we do have dual wield unlocked. As you can see, we have all the passives and we have all the skills unlocked. You can choose the skills you want to use for yourself. I chose the skills that I feel fits me more for this type of build and went from there. Next, destruction staff, also fill out all the passives, all the skills of your choice. Go with the ones that are going to fit you better. Onto the armor. We have all light armor equipped, so we're using 5 pieces of that. As you can see, we have all of the passives unlocked and the skill. In order to unlock any of the active abilities for the armor type, you have to have 5 pieces or more equipped. Excuse me. So, yeah. And then I'm going to go over the traits real quick. So, Grace is going to give you reduced snare, the effectiveness of snares applied to you by 4% for each piece of light armor worn. That's 20%. Reduce the cost of sprint by 3% for each piece of light armor worn, 15%. And then on the evocation, you get increased magic recovery for each piece of light armor worn, giving you a 20% mag recovery. Reduces the cost of your abilities by 2% for each piece of light armor equipped. And then spell warding increases your spell resistance by 363 for each piece of light armor equipped. As you can see, it gives you 1,815. Prodigy, when 5 pieces or more of light armor equipped, you increase your spell critical by 2191. That's about a 12% increase. It's like right between 11 and 12, I believe. And then concentration is when you have 5 or more pieces of light armor equipped, you increase your spell penetration by 4,884. This is how we can take advantage of using a lightning staff on the back bar and still use stamina on the front bar for DPS. Medium, we have dexterity. This increases your weapon critical by 328 for each piece of medium armor. As you can see, we do get 328 extra weapon critical. And we also have Windwalker, which increases your stam recovery by 4% for each piece of medium armor equipped, and reduces your stamina cost of your abilities by 2%. And then moving on to athletics, increase your movement speed bonus of sprint by 3% for each piece of medium armor equipped, and then reduce your cost of dodge roll by 4% for each piece of medium armor equipped by 4%. Heavy armor, resolve, increases your spell and physical resistance by 362 for each piece of heavy armor. As you can see, we get an extra 362 physical and spell resist. We also get the constitution thing for wearing 1 piece of heavy armor. That increases our health recovery by 4% for each piece of heavy armor equipped, and then you restore 108 magic and stamina when you take damage for each piece of heavy armor equipped. We get 108 stamina back and magicka. Then we have Juggernaut, which increases our health recovery by 2% for each piece. That's another 2% max health. Going on to world skills, you can be a vampire or werewolf if you so choose. I prefer without. Soul Summons allows you to revive once every hour without spending a soul gem. Then we have Soul Lock. Killing an enemy with a weapon ability has a 10% chance to automatically filling an empty soul gem. I'm going to do this again just so people know, like, you can choose which one you want to unlock for these skills, because these skills are still somewhat viable for you, even if you're playing Overland and you're running low on Sky Shards. You can actually use this ability to help you get Sky Shards. You can use this for damage in PvE or PvP. As you can see, it does 57,184 magic damage over 3.5 seconds. And even though it's a magic ability, it does all ultimates scale off your max attributes. So either max magicka or max stamina, and weapon damage or spell damage, depending on which one. Alright, Fighters Guild. Unlock all the passives and the abilities of your choice. Same thing with the Mages Guild. Sejic Order, you can do the same thing, including the passives. And then on Undaunted, I would suggest doing the same thing, plus the passives. Assault skills, we have Aggressive Warhorn, we have Echoing Vigor and Razor Caltrop. Support, we have Replenishing Barrier, Efficient Purge, and Stalwart Guard, plus Magic Aid. And then moving on to racial passives. Because I chose Dark Elf for this, they do play better into the hybridized type setting of either Magicka or Stamina really well because of their racial design. And I really like that they did that with this race because it gives them that ability to do this really good. So they get Dynamics, increase your max Magicka and Stamina by 1875. Flame Resistance, increase your Flame Resistance by 2310. And gain immunity to burning status effects. And then Ruination, increase your weapon and spell damage by 258. Now, you can play this with any race you choose. Just remember the stats will be different to reflect that race. Alright, moving on to Alchemy, medicinal use. When using potions, resulting effects last 30% longer. And Gourmand and Connoisseur. These just increase the duration of your food by 20 minutes and your drinks by 20 minutes. So, really good for the purpose of whatever you're playing, utilizing food and stuff to your advantage. Alright, now let's go over the skills we have on our bar. Now these skills are placed here by me, by choice. You do not have to use the same skill setup. You can actually go and look on other people's ideas at their YouTube channels or read the forums or whatever and take other people's advice on what might be the best options for you. You can do that. I just chose these because this reflects the way I want this character to work. Alright. We have Blood Craze. This one, slice an enemy with both weapons to cause deep lacerations, dealing 2011 physical damage with each weapon and causing them to bleed for an additional 11,118 physical damage over 10 seconds. You also heal for 1,258 health every 2 seconds for the duration. Next ability we have is Venom Skull. This one, lob an explosive skull at an enemy dealing 7,214 poison damage. Every third cast of this ability deals 20% increased damage. While slotted, casting a Necromancer ability while you are in combat will count towards the third cast. We have Blighted Blastbones. This one summons a decaying skeleton from the ground. After 2.5 seconds, the skeleton runs after the target and explodes. When it gets close to them, dealing 12,026 disease damage to all enemies, thereby and applying Major Defile to them for 4 seconds, reducing their healing received by and health recovery by 30%. Creates a corpse on death. Next, we have Quick Cloak. Envelop yourself in a protective cloak of razors, granting major evasion for 15 seconds, reducing damage from the area attacks by 25%. Every 3 seconds, the shrapnel will pulse, dealing 1,400 physical damage to all enemies within 5 meters. You also gain major evasion for 4 seconds, increasing your movement speed by 30%. We have Evil Hunter on our bar. Even though we are using the potion, if you wanted to, you can take Evil Hunter off and swap it out for another ability if you so choose. I like to put Vigor here personally. Next ability we have on our bar is Flawless Dawnbreaker. This one, arm yourself with Meridia's Sacred Sword and dispense her retribution, dealing 10,029 physical damage to enemies in front of you and an additional 11,613 physical damage over 6 seconds. While slotted, your weapon damage is increased by 5%. Moving on to the back bar. First ability we have is Rearming Trap. Now, you can set, this one, you set a sharpened blade trap at the location, which takes 1.5 seconds to arm and lasts 1 minute. When triggering, the trap deals 2,373 physical damage and an additional 6,126 physical damage over 6 seconds. Immobilizes the enemy for 6 seconds and grants you minor force, increasing your critical damage by 10%. After being triggered, the trap resets and can be triggered 1 more time. So this thing just has a dual duration. So it lasts for 60 seconds once you cast it. And then as soon as something steps in it or is in it as you cast it, they get applied this to them, and then after it runs its duration of 6 seconds, it'll reapply itself for another 6 seconds, so a total of 12. Next ability we have on our bar is Unnerving Boneyard. Now this one, desecrate the ground at the target location, dealing 17,506 frost damage over 10 seconds, and applying Major Breach and Major Fracture to enemies, reducing their spell and physical damage, by 5,280. Consumes a corpse on the cast to deal 20% more damage. We will have a corpse out from the Blast Bones when we activate this, so we can keep this doing 20% more damage. And then an ally standing in the graveyard can activate the Grave Robber synergy, dealing 10,175 frost damage to enemies in the area and healing you for the damage done. The next ability we have is Unstable Wall of Storm. Slam your staff to create an unstable storm barrier in front of you, dealing 1,453 shock damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second, and setting concussed enemies off balance for 5 seconds. When the effect ends, the barrier explodes, dealing 2,326 shock damage. We have Skeletal Arcanist. This one, unearth the Skeletal Mage from the dirt to fight by your side for 16 seconds. The mage attacks the closest enemy every 5 seconds, dealing 1,750 shock damage to them and all other enemies nearby. It does create a corpse as well on death. Next, we have Inner Light. We just have this here for the 5% max magicka for being a mage guild ability, and it does give us an extra 2% for one of the passives. That makes it a total of 7%, and that's how we get that magicka pool up to 22k. And when you're in a group that's using Warhorn, you will actually go to 23, almost 24,000. Last ultimate we have is Glacial Colossus. Now this one, unleash a frostbitten flesh colossus to pulverize enemies in the area. The colossus smashes the ground 3 times over 3 seconds and dealing 8,408 frost damage with each smash. The final smash stuns all enemies hit for 4 seconds. The smash applies major vulnerability to any enemy hit for 3 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 30%. And that is it for the skills. Now we're going to jump over to the CP, and I'm going to go through these pretty quick. So, starting with Red Tree, we have 66 into Ironclad. This reduces your damage taken from direct damage attacks by 22%. We have 4 into Light Armor Focus. This is just to kind of balance out your spell and physical resist. And then we have 56 into Thick Skin. This reduces your damage taken from damage over time effects by 20%. 56 into Hardy, reducing your damage taken from physical poison disease damage by 12%, and 56 into Elemental Defender, reducing your damage taken from Flame Frost, Shock, and Magic damage by 12%. Moving on over here, we have 32 into Quick Recovery. This increases your healing received by 8%. This is going to make heals affect you more effectively. Moving on over here, we have 40 into Warlord, reducing your break free cost by 16%. 16 into Sprinter, reducing your sprint cost by 10%. 16 into Bashing Focus. This reduces your cost of bash by 10%. And then moving on over here, we have 43 into Mooncalf, increasing your stam recovery by 10%. 43 into Arcanus, increasing mag recovery by 10%. And 43 into Tenacity, increasing your magic and stamina of your fully charged heavy attacks by 10%. Now moving on over here, we have 40 into Tumbling. This is going to reduce your dodge roll costs by 16%. 29 into Shadow Ward, reducing your block cost by 12.43%. I know this is going over the jump point, but that's fine. You just need the 12%. Moving on over here, we have 43 into Bless. This increases your healing done by 10%. This does apply to your Vigor, and if you are using Vigor in a trial or dungeon setting, this is going to help it out a lot. Next, we have 23 into Elfborn, increasing your critical damage and critical healing with magic abilities by 10%. 43 into Elemental Expert, increasing Flame Frost, Shock, and Magic damage by 10%. Moving on over here, we have 16 into Physical Weapon Expert, increasing your light and heavy attack damage with Dual Wield by 10%. And if you are a werewolf, it will also boost that by 10%. Staff Expert increases the damage of your light and heavy attacks for Destruction and Restless Staves, as well as the Sorcerer's Overload ability by 10%. Master at Arms increases damage done with direct damage attacks by 16%. That's why we have 40 points in there. And then we have 23 into Thaumaturgy, increasing your damage done with damage over time effects by 10%. 23 into Precise Strikes, increasing your critical damage and critical healing with stamina abilities by 10%. And then 43 into Mighty, increasing your physical poison and disease damage by 10%. And that is the CP. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this build in action. You guys can decide for yourself if this is how you'd like to play it. If you choose not to, there will be a Magicka version as well as a tank and healer version of this same build, and you guys can decide which role you want to play it in and go from there. Alright, so first things first, Potion, Trap Beast, Light Attack, this, Light Attack, Wall of Elements, Light Attack, Summon Skeleton, Light Attack, Swap Bars, Twin Slashes, Light Attack, skull, light attack, summon skeleton, light attack, summon your quick cloak, then do 2 more of the skulls with light attacks in between, swap bars, trap beast, and then this. When you do that and you bring up your gravestones, that's going to give you the greatest amount of DPS against that enemy. As you saw, I only did 13k DPS. I would show you guys again, but instead I'm going to go over here. I can get about 18, 19k, sometimes even 25k on that target skeleton with this. It just depends on how effective I can do the rotation. Now we're going to take it up against the target Iron Astronaut. This is a Trials Astronaut. This is going to give you all the buffs that you can get in a trial in an organized group. So Trap Beast, we're going to go through this really fast. And as you can see, we're pulling about 30k DPS with that. And that's more than enough to do all the content in the game. On normal and on veteran. Hard mode, I would suggest playing this as a Magicka damage dealer. I wouldn't try playing this as in hard mode like that. But you can play normal and veteran fine with that amount of DPS. In fact, most content can be done with that amount of DPS. It's kind of nice. Alright, now that you guys have seen that, you guys probably want to see what it looks like in a dungeon. So let's go ahead and jump into my favorite dungeon for testing right now, Depths of Malatar. And again, for people to understand, Depths of Malatar is one of the latest dungeons added to the game. This is in the Wrathstone DLC that just recently came out over the summer. This is going to give us, or the fall, but it is going to give us the most challenging experience with this build because it is the most latest content. And it's designed to be challenging on purpose. So it's a good reason why I came in here. Now in normal mode, this thing can just chew this place up. In veteran mode, if you have a good group, it can chew things up. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you guys this. I will die. I'm going to warn you. I'm going to show you this in use, and then I'm going to show you again with it more of in a solo play. Okay, so I knew I was going to die, but as you can see, 24k DPS against those trash mobs, and that's pretty decent. Okay, but now let me set it up for more solo play, and we will go back in there and see what we can pull off. So when you set the build up for more of a solo play, you are gonna sacrifice other abilities to gain some. So we're gonna swap that out there. We are actually going to go to our armor and grab our light armor ability for this, and we're going to swap it out for the skull. I like blast bones because we can still take advantage of this on the back bar, but we are going to be dropping inner light now, so we can grab our living death, or not a living death, our bone summoner's armor for this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to buff up, summon our skeleton, do all of our buffs. And I died. I made several mistakes there. Again, I'm doing about 21k DPS in this on veteran mode. So just so you guys know, this is veteran. I figured I would die. I'm not very comfortable playing light armor builds because I'm not a good player, and I will admit that. So, but somebody who's skilled in light armor can really take advantage of this setup, and if they can do the skills in the right way, that's going to be most effective for them. This build can actually do a lot. So solo and in group play, and even like this, you know, you're still able to play solo. In Overland, it works great. So But that is it for the Witchblade. I hope you guys like this build. I really do like it a lot, and I got to give a shout out to somebody. So to my sister-in-law, thank you for giving me the inspiration for this. So Killer Mick knows what I'm talking about. But that's it for the video, guys. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, you guys know what's coming next. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.